Okay, Shaun. First of all, thank you for giving your time for this conversation to start with. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to us, please?
Sure. Shaun Clowes, Chief Product Officer at Confluent. Excited to be here, spend some time together.
Wonderful. So to start with, I would like to know from you, Shaun, that how is Confluent improving the entire developer experience in the event-driven architectures and streaming processing?
Yeah, so Kafka was invented about 13 years ago by the founders of this company, Confluent, Jay, Neha, and John. And since then, we've been taking streaming mainstream. We've been taking streaming, making it the default way in which applications work together in the operational estate to coordinate, to move data. And now with the other new capabilities, we're taking that same data into the analytical estate with Tableflow and other technologies like that. In terms of the developer experience, there are now over 150,000 different organizations using Kafka. It's become effectively ubiquitous. It's the obvious way that people stream data, and we want to make that even easier for people. So we are one of the largest contributors to Apache Kafka, which is the Kafka Foundation, the Apache Foundation's implementation of Kafka. And we're making it even easier by continuing to evolve the Kafka clients, make them easier to use. And we recently just introduced a Visual Studio Code plugin for the world's most popular IDE, Visual Studio Code, that makes it really easy to put Kafka into your existing projects to develop, test, and deploy those applications directly from within your favorite IDE, so you can push data, pull data from Kafka super easily.
Wonderful. So, the business started with open source, and now it's like all managed devices here. What advice do you have for the developers, while they're trying to choose between Apache Kafka and Confluent Cloud?
Yeah, so Apache Kafka is a fantastic product. Like I said, we're one of the key contributors to Apache Kafka. We want people to be able to get access to the power of streaming. And what streaming lets them do is they can decouple their producers and their consumers. They can produce data at unlimited scale. They can have teams consume that data without needing to know about the other teams. They basically get this, ubiquitous decoupling layer that enables them to move data in a really scalable way across really complicated environments. And so we continue to contribute to Apache Kafka. When you think about the amount of data in the world, in 2020, there was about 64 zettabytes of data produced around the world. That is a lot of data. And in 2025, there's estimated to be about 182 zettabytes of data, so almost 3 times the amount of data. And so when you think about how you move all of your data, there's not just a little bit of data in your enterprise, it's how you move all of it and how you cost effectively manage all of it, move all of it, put it to work. Apache Kafka is a fantastic substrate. The Apache Kafka protocol is the right way to move all of this data. But because the data differs in importance, how much of it there is, how important it is that it moves in real time, we offer a complete managed service. That means you don't have to worry about that. So it's the Kafka protocol. You can have your producers and consumers speak Kafka. It works exactly like Apache Kafka does, but it's elastic and serverless. So basically, when you connect, whatever your data is, you choose the type of cluster type you want to use, and we just take care of it all for you. So instead of worrying about managing infrastructure to move data, you just kind of use it as like a dial tone. I like to think about it as like a dial tone or a global telecommunications network. You don't think about how your phone call works between, when you're traveling from some place to some other place. It just does. It's always there.
Yeah.
And for developers, Kafka's like that. It's just always there. I don't have to think about it. I just push the data or I pull the data and it just works at global scale. That's what we're trying to achieve.
Okay. Tell us about, how do you see the entire AI models leveraging the real-time data pipelines, and what role does Confluent exactly play in this ecosystem when it comes to your customers and the developers also out there?
Yeah. So we think we're all learning a lot about LLM models very, very quickly. And one thing that's become really interesting and obvious now is that what LLM models let us do is develop really smart applications faster than we ever thought we could before. Like you can build an incredible experience from zero in days or weeks, which previously would have taken months or years. And that's great. But at the end of the day, the LLM models come to you pre-trained, but they only know what they knew the moment they were trained on all the data in the world, right? Mm-hmm. And after that, they are completely ignorant to anything going on in the world in real time or just in general right now. And so an LLM is really incredibly smart and also very dumb, because if you don't give it the information it needs to know about you, about your customer relationship, about the products you're interested in, about the objective, it knows nothing about any of that. and it will make up the results if it has to. It will literally make up facts about you, or make up what your preferences are. It will hallucinate, and it will make things up. And so when you invoke an LLM, you're obviously invoking it in real time. It is only as smart as the information you give it in real time. And if you think about what people are trying to use LLMs to do, they're trying to use them to build chatbot experiences, or to automate business tasks, or to create AI agents. And those things involve asking questions about the real world, or taking action in the real world. So they are only as good as the data you give them. And the only data they have is the data you give them the instant you invoke them. And so it's inevitable that if you're trying to build a really, sophisticated LLM application, you have to figure out how to get it the data that you need. And so it turns out that AI is a data problem. It's like fundamentally a data problem. And so our mission in life has always been to enable people to take data from wherever it was created, whenever it was created, get it to wherever it needs to go when it is needed, like instantly, from wherever it's created to wherever it's needed, and to get it in a rich, reliable way so that you can put it to work. So AI and that mission are like a perfect match. They're like a marriage made in heaven. And so, during our keynote today, but also obviously in various different forums, we've been sharing how you can build really sophisticated AI models like in minutes. So really sophisticated AI applications by taking advantage of your data that's already streaming, by using Flink to produce really rich data, join it, produce high quality contextualized data, but create a prompt from an LLM, get the results from the LLM, and take action back in the real world. You can build one of those things in minutes, like literally 5 minutes. You can have a working AI application based on your existing real-time data.
Fantastic. What is your advice, when it comes to the practicing of the Kafka performance in large-scale applications for the developer community?
Yeah, that goes a little bit back to your question about Apache Kafka and how to think about that. As I mentioned, because of the amount of data in the world, not all data is created equal, right? And so the problem you have is if you have data that's high volume but very, very important, how do you move that data when you have data that's low volume and not very important, or high volume and not very important? There's kind of this constant interplay between the value of the data and the volume of the data, and how you want to treat it and put it to work. Okay. And so when you self-deploy your Kafka infrastructure, you have to make a bunch of decisions around that. You have to basically say, I want to tune my Kafka environment to be as fast as possible. So you can tune it to be the fastest car there is. Or you can go the other way and you can say, I want to tune it to be the least expensive. But you basically end up making these big decisions that have consequences for all of your data. So your very important data is moving just as slowly as your less important data, or vice versa. And so, my advice for those folks who are looking to kind of get the most out of the Kafka infrastructure would be to try and figure out how to tune it to the best possible balance of your data workloads, or honestly to take advantage of a managed service. Like if you take advantage of a managed service, you generally don't have to make that decision. You can stand up a Kafka for your high value data. You can stand up another Kafka for your low value data. You can set one to be the lowest cost, one to be the highest performance. Then you can mesh them together using technology like cluster linking. And so you get to have your cake and eat it too. You get to move all of your data, but to do so at the right ROI, the right return on investment. If you think about data is nothing other than fuel, right? It's fuel for an application. Some of it is really good fuel. Some of it is really like terrible fuel. Like some of it is kind of really dirty data. Some of it is extremely important to you, but all of it needs to be moved and managed, and you need to find ways to get the value out of it. And this whole, ecosystem that we're creating around the data streaming platform is to do that, so that you can, wherever your data is, you can find it. Wherever your data is, you can enrich it. Wherever your data is, you can reuse it and put it to work for whatever your use case is.
Okay, let's talk about your expansion plans here, specifically on the hiring side of it. Last year, I think it was announced as 20%, but Jay mentioned it was 50% of hiring that India saw for Confluent. This year particularly, or maybe in the couple of years that you guys are planning to expand the business as well as the entire innovation, Shaun, how do you see this expansion happening when it comes to hiring part? And if you would like to, share bits of the skill sets that Confluent would look at when it comes to looking at these engineers in India.
Sure. I don't have the exact numbers to share with you, but we could probably follow up with some information on the numbers perspective. But we have like a very significant development center here in Bangalore. We also hire remotely. So we're a remote first company. So The developers that work with us don't have to be co-located here in Bangalore. In fact, they're located all around India. Our philosophy is to find the very best engineers there are all over the world, and to have them work on what we think is, just a premier platform for data movement, data management. You're asking about like our future plans. We're going to continue to expand. This is a very significant innovation center for us. It's actually the home of some of our most important product lines as a company, representing hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue for us, growing very strongly. When you asked about like talent, what type of people we're looking for, honestly, we're looking for folks who understand data infrastructure. So we're looking for people who have a familiarity around databases, message queuing, event streaming, like the less at the kind of consumer application level and more at the technology infrastructure level, about how to build massive cloud scale, complicated data infrastructure technology. And we've actually found like a very significant body of talent here in India for that, but we're certainly always looking for more talent.
Wonderful. I would like to touch base on the future of data streaming here, as we conclude the conversation. How do you see the future of event-driven architectures influencing the enterprise data strategies?
Yeah, for a long time, event-driven architectures were seen as a little bit of a niche. Like people often used to ask questions of like, well, do I really need that data to be streamed? Why can't I just move it by batch? Do I really need real time? Is it okay if it's old? But two things are happening in the world. Firstly, it's obvious that the really great user experiences that are winning in the market, they're all real time because humans are real time, right? If you look at Flipkart, Meesho, Myntra, all these different experiences that exist here in this market, but just globally, they're all real-time. They're incredibly great technologies. So the more competitive companies are those who are able to put their data to work fast. Like it's just that simple, right? Convert that fuel into power, which you have to do by getting data value out of your data. And so event streaming, or just streaming in general, is the only way we've found to be able to take that 182 zettabytes of data I talked about and use it instantly, like really get value out of it without you can't move it in batches. It's not cost effective or efficient, and it doesn't deliver the user experience you need to truly take advantage of that much data. Like you're stuck using little bits of it or old bits of data or data that no longer represents the real world. And if you look at now, like in the past 2 years with the advent of LLMs, I think this is just like extra fuel on the fire of how you take advantage of your data. If you have these really smart LLMs and AI experiences, how do you, customer expectations are rising. They're like, okay, I want you to give me these rich, incredible experiences. There's no reason you cannot do that. But if you don't figure out how to put streaming to work, get your data out of its silos, stop dealing with your data in batches that are old and unreliable, then you're just never going to be able to take advantage of where the puck is headed right now. And it's pretty clear that AI is an incredible force for the development of technology in the world. And I think event streaming is a foundational capability that makes AI smart rather than AI that's really kind of dumb.
Okay, so what's your opinion on the biasness that comes in these data modeling, Shaun? I would like to understand that because that has been the most debatable part at this point in time when we talk of AI, right? The entire modeling that we look at. How do you think you're eliminating that biasness from these models and the output is something that is reliable?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, there's this challenge with the bias in the model. The model is only the model kind of represents the data that it saw at the time that it was trained, and so the only way to override those biases or to make the output rich in your voice, in your company, in the things you care about, is literally in the instant that you submit the data to the LLM. That is all it will ever know. So the more that you put the most valuable data, the things that really matter, the sentiment you want it to express, the approach you want it to use, the data you want it to take as foundational, the more that you make that good, the better the output will be. The less you are able to bring really, really good data to the LLM at the time you invoke it, the worse it will be. And you heard me say earlier that it's to the point that it will literally make things up. But you can overwhelm that tendency that the model has. The model wants to please you, it wants to give you an answer, but you can override that tendency by giving it the best possible information, filling up the context window that's given to the LLM. You want to use every word wisely. You want to use every single piece of input wisely to get the exact outcome you're trying to achieve, to really make it good rather than just average, whatever it would have thought out of the box.
So as responsible leaders, do you think we are in that position to give the right inputs while the consumers are using this in the market? Shaun, how do you think we are operating from that angle?
Yeah, so I think that's actually one of the interesting challenges. People are taking the wrong approach with the way that they're building some of their LLM applications, because they're building them as though they're like analytical reports. They're building them as though they're a piece of, they're something that they create and then they implement it and then they ship it and it will be okay. But actually, what's happening is the LLM is responding to the real world. There's information coming in, there's information coming out. You need to be supervising it. Like, you need to be watching what the inputs are, you need to be watching what the outputs are continuously. So then you can understand, is it good or bad? And then you need to be constantly trying to get better, because you heard me say that if you brought it better data, if you changed the way you presented the data, if you change the words you use, you'll get different outcomes. And so what you really want to be doing is treating them as slightly non-deterministic services. You want to be able to A/B test them. You want to be able to stand up a new set of prompts and context that you want to deliver it, compare it against the existing one, and constantly be getting better. You want to constantly monitor it and be constantly trying to improve it. And what's really amazing is you can do that with like hardly any effort. Like, if you set yourself up to think about the world that way, as like there is a champion implementation of this and then there's a challenger implementation of this, you observe what isn't working, you try a new one, you immediately demote the old one, you try another one, you try another one, you try another one. And so you can get AI experiences that are just amazing, and it costs you hardly anything. All it takes is a slightly different approach to the world, treating this as a responsibility that you have to constantly be observing it, understanding what's going on, and trying to improve the state of the art.
Okay, now one last bit. Do you think there is a gap when it comes to giving the right inputs from the customer standpoint? Do you think it's being used rightly in the market at this point in time?
Could you elaborate a little bit on the question?
So let's just say ChatGPT, right? Let's just say ChatGPT, you said it was just a game changer and people start talking about it. And some people were also worried in the market that it might just be a revolution for a lot of jobs and skills and everything, right? Now, when I, as a third person, as a layman in the market, I go to ChatGPT, I put in certain inputs about a certain query. Do you think that practice is correct, or there is a gap that we as responsible makers of these technology need to put out in the market, that this is how fundamentally you will get the right output if you see it in the right input? How do you think that functioning is at this point in time?
Yeah, that was kind of what I was referring to a second ago. We don't actually understand how the models work internally. No one does, including the vendors of the models. Yeah. And so there's a lot we all still need to learn about how to ask them things in the right way to get the best possible output.
Exactly.
They're extremely uncertain. It's quite possible for a customer to ask a question that to you or I would make a bunch of sense and provoke in the LLM output that makes no sense to us. Like, it would make up facts. It could express views that are, not acceptable in that culture. Like, there's all sorts of ways this thing can break. So from my perspective, we've gotten a little bit ahead of ourselves. The models are extremely powerful. We haven't yet developed the right thinking and approaches to how to run these things in production. And that's what's actually been holding a lot of people back. Like, you've heard that a lot of AI workloads are stuck in pilot. Like, they're pilot phase, but they're not yet in production. And people keep asking why. And I would argue it's because we're still figuring out exactly how to get the best context windows, but also we're trying to figure out how to monitor this thing when it's in production, how to learn when it's not working, and to fix it rapidly so that we can continually be improving the best of the outcomes and reducing the worst of the outcomes of the LLM. We're still figuring that out, I think, as an industry.
Absolutely. I think that's one part that I, as a third person who writes about technology and reads about it in and out, feels that people are gaga about using a new technology, but they should also know how to use it in the correct way. And that's how we get the desired result, and not just going out haywire in the market and just using it for the namesake, right? So that gap, I think, needs to be, bridged when we look at these things. And gradually we are just going there. And I hope we should be there in some time where people put in seeing the right information to seek out the right information, and not just, just for the sake of it.
I completely agree. But I think AI safety is something we're going to be discussing for a long time to come, as we figure out how to manage these LLMs, these super smart LLMs that also do crazy things.
Fantastic, Shaun. It was lovely speaking with you. Thank you so much for giving your time to me and discussing about technology and Confluent. I'm looking forward to some wonderful innovations happening and look forward to meeting you again here in India sometime.
Thank you very much. It was really a pleasure. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.